Hello everyone, how are we all doing? Now in this video, I'm going to be talking about how subtle OCD is, how sneaky it is, how crafty it is. It's very, very crafty. It's what it does. It's very sneaky in how it operates. I'll give you some examples. So, when it latches, there is a core fear at play. So we have to identify the irrational beliefs around the core fear. But what then tends to happen, OCD scans for different triggers that links back to this core fear. Hence why I ask people in one-to-one calls and webinars and all in the WhatsApp groups as well, that when they're triggered, when they're stuck, when they're caught up on something, what does it all boil down to? What does it all link back to? What is the underlying core fear at play? And quite often, no matter what the trigger is, it tends to all boil down to the same thing. Yes, the different fears vary, of course they can. You're not just stuck on one thing and that's it. You're not just stuck on one fear and that's it. I would say roughly there are about 4 to 5 core fears, because people often say, Sam, do I dispute every trigger? Do I dispute every intrusive thought that comes in? Well, no, of course you don't, because you'd be disputing every minute of every day, which obviously isn't feasible, isn't healthy, isn't the right way to go. So, but when you're triggered, think, well, what does it boil down to? I'll give you some examples. So when I had the fear of doing wrong, for example, okay, I had this very bad fear of doing wrong, acting immorally, breaking the law, just being a bad person, all linked into that kind of thing. Now, let's say I said a joke down in the pub or in a restaurant, and it's slightly on the borderline of an offensive joke. It could be deemed as an offensive joke, quite an insult maybe, quite a sort of risky joke, right? Now, let's say I then think, oh shit, what if I've then offended them? I've done something wrong, therefore I should be punished, therefore I should feel guilty for the rest of my life, therefore I have to confess, I have to go and apologise 1,000,000 times, so all linked back into that fear. Now, what will then happen? Let's say I'm walking out of that bar, and then let's say I accidentally barge someone on the way out. It's then going to think, oh shit, what about that trigger? I've got that trigger of the fear of offending someone, and I've got the fear of accidentally pushing someone. And then what if I cross the road and accidentally push someone or barge someone again? Oh shit, what if it's that trigger? So what I'm saying is it all links back to the fear of doing wrong. Okay, so you don't dispute every trigger that happened in that day or in that 5-minute period or whatever. You're disputing the fear that it all links back to. Now, in that particular situation, it was the fear of doing wrong. So once I got under the fear of doing wrong and being at peace with myself, even if I have done wrong, even if I have broken the law, even if I have made a mistake, how I can still be at peace with myself and accept myself unconditionally and be at peace with the worst case scenario. Now, what I'm saying there is it's so subtle, because it's always looking for anything, even just sending a bloody text message, you've done wrong, even just looking at somebody funny, oh, you've done wrong, you've made a mistake, that's bad, you shouldn't be doing that. Okay, it's always scanning for that thing, and no matter what. And this is where you start going into the OCD restricted bubble, because it's going to latch to anything that can be deemed as wrong, as immoral, as not the right thing to do. Therefore, you then become avoidant of everything. You then go into compulsive cycle of hardly leaving the house, like I was, housebound. Okay, so it's always looking to do that. It's important to remember, and it's very sneaky in how it does it. It's looking to catch you off guard. It's looking to hit you out of nowhere. Shit, where did that come from? So you need to really get under the fear, the underlying fear that's bubbling away as to why that trigger scares you. Not each individual trigger, not each individual thought that comes in, because at my worst, I was getting peppered and bombarded by intrusive thoughts. Just having that thought, you've done wrong, you're a bad person, you're evil. So I couldn't just write down, okay, why is that thought scary? Why is that thought scary? No, because I'll be doing that all day long. You've still got to live life and bring it along for the ride. You've got to lean into the anxiety and wear the discomfort. And then as you're disputing on paper is very important, you're breaking down the core fears of why that scares you. Why did that thought scare you? Why did walking past that person you accidentally barging them, why did that scare you? What would be the worst case scenario if you did offend someone with that joke? The fear of doing wrong. How can I still be at peace with myself? How can I still be grateful? Can I really stand it? Is it really awful? Look at the demands. I must not have done this. They must not think that. Breaking that down with rational thinking, unconditional acceptance. Acceptance isn't agreement, remember. But we're going to help you break that down in one-to-one calls. So please email phil@ocdrecovery.com if you are interested in a one-to-one session, so we can look at your specific fears of why different things are triggering you and why it all boils down to, because that's so important, because that is the root cause. That is the source of the problem. okay? Every time I'm on a call with someone who's going from trigger to trigger, it's just, oh, this has happened now, this has happened now, this has happened now, this has happened now, okay? So we don't just break down each individual trigger, we're doing that all the time. The trigger is just the result of the underlying problem. It's the outcome of the source of the problem, which is the core fear. Hence why you rip that apart, and therefore less triggers happen, more infrequent triggers. It don't have that latching, gripping, fight or flight power, boom, as it once did, as we break down those core fears, okay? It's very, very subtle. Do not underestimate the subtleness of OCD. How sneaky, it's very crafty, very crafty. It's always looking for a way. Boom, got you off guard. Oh, caught you, got you, right? It's a very good con artist, remember that. Now, I'll give you some other examples. So with our OCD, for example, now let's say you had a fear of your partner going off of you. So your partner leaving you, right? Getting bored of you, finding someone else, thinking you're boring, you're no good for me, you're wasting my time with you, I'm going, right? It's going to do that. So it's then going to scan every conversation, any activity you have with them, any communication, any interaction, any intimate moment you have with them. It's going to scan for that. Are you doing this because you enjoy it? Are they going to go off of you? Are you doing enough? Could you be doing more? Are you doing too much? Is this, are they the right for you? Are they lying to you? Are they pretending they like you? Do they really like you? He's always looking to do that. Now, if you have those fears, yes, we break down the fear of them leaving you, why that wouldn't be the worst case scenario, not agreement, remember, how your life wouldn't just end, how you could still enjoy life and even transform your life and look at the pros and cons of each individual situation and break down the rational beliefs around that. But then the subtleness of OCD, it's then going to switch up. It's then going to morph. It's then going to change. It's going to move the goalposts. And this is what it's going to do. So, for example, with that particular fear, it's then going to try and find evidence as to why they're going to go off of you, okay? Give an example. Let's say it suddenly latches to you being dumb, or you not being good enough, or you getting ill, for example, you having some sort of problem, health problem, neurological problem, where you become very forgetful, where your intelligence is affected, okay? Now, it's then gone, oh, because you were reading this book and it didn't go in, for example, this book didn't go in, this means that you're not as intelligent as you once were. There is the proof that that's why your partner is now going to leave you, because you're no longer good enough, right? So because of this, it's then found further evidence as to why the original fear of them leaving you is going to go. And that's what it's doing. So once you break down one fear, it's looking, it's moving, it's scanning for things. But here's proof. If you lose your memory, if you start going crazy, if you become psychotic, if you become neurotic, if you become a schizophrenic, that's the reason why they're then going to leave you. So it's then that's the main underlying fear boiling away, but it's branching off, it's looking for other reasons to why they're going to leave you, okay? And that's what it does. So that's a classic example of them leaving you, or because there's evidence that you are going crazy, you're losing your smartness, you're losing your intelligence, meaning they're then going to then leave you, which will be terrible. So it all boils down to that main core fear. So be wary of what it does, be wary of how it branches out, okay? It's the same with, existential, for example. Existential was a big one that got me, and this got me later on in my journey, because when I was putting in the work to overcome my main initial themes and my specific themes was sort of the guilt-related themes and any sort of taboo-related theme, that when I was getting under that of self-acceptance and rational thinking, I go, I'm getting somewhere, I'm seeing results here. And then existential went boom, it suddenly went, well, what's the point, Sam? Because nothing else matters. It makes no difference now because nothing's real. What is the point? Even if you recover, you can't enjoy anything anyway because you can't be present, you can't be connected, you can't feel any joy, you can't feel any happiness. So then what it tried to do was just completely rip apart that making progress. No, doesn't matter, you're going to be stuck forever because nothing else matters. So you might as well give up the recovery work. You might as well forget all about the sessions, forget all about the books, forget all about the disputing, forget about the life structure, forget about all the tools that you've learned to get you to where you are today and made huge progress today, because nothing else matters. What's the point? It's not even real. Even if you work your ass off for the rest of your life, it doesn't matter anyway because you're not going to enjoy the rest of your life, right? It's very subtle. It's always looking to do that. It's the same with health. When health got me big time, it was when things were going well, because OCD first latched to the guilt-related, the harm, the POCD, the real event, the false memory, anything where it's thinking, right, you're evil, you're a bad person, you can't be let off the hook. When I was starting to break that down with unconditional acceptance, it then went, health OCD, you've got cancer, you're going to be dead within a month. I thought, I've worked my ass off to get to where I am today with rational thinking and acceptance and just really going towards my fears. And it said, right, no, I'm going to find this now that you're going to be dead within a month, no matter if it's cancer, no matter if it's a neurological thing, no matter if it's just an illness that you've picked up or a disease that you've picked up or an infection that you've picked up or whatever. It's I'm going, right, that's it now, waste of time. And then what it then does is like, well, you might as well give up the recovery work, Sam, because you're going to be dead within a month. Right? And then I was at the doctors there and back trying to make sure that I wasn't going to die, to make sure that it wasn't cancer, to make sure that I wasn't getting ill, having scan after scan after scan after scan. Even when I was having scans, that wasn't enough, because even when I had that scan, OCD said, yeah, but your arm was placed there. Oh, yeah, but your arm was over there. Yeah, but the GP that looked at your problem they were too tired. They yawned before they said this. Their eyebrow raised as they said that. That means they didn't believe it. You know, OCD is always looking for that. I'm sure you can acknowledge that and agree with that as you're listening, because that is what it does. Because I've lived and breathed that. I've lived and breathed OCD suffering, and with it morphing and moving around and switching up. So do not underestimate the subtleness of OCD. It's very, very sneaky. It's going under the radar. It's looking for that, oh, got you. Because even when you're doing well, this is where coasting becomes a problem. Because when you're doing well, it's then, oh, I put my feet up, fine. I've made it. Woohoo, done. OCD, forget about it, I've made it. And it's going under the radar. It's looking to catch you off guard. Boom, it's got you. And then what I see all the time, crisis happens. Crisis point. Can we book in a call? I need to read the books. I need to dispute. Oh my God, I wasn't expecting this. Oh my God, it's latched to this. People then avoid the group, for example. They avoid talking about OCD because they're scared of it latching to something. That's avoidance, okay? If that worked, I would not be able to do this job that I do today and all us coaches do today, because we are around OCD every day. We hear from all the taboo, all the graphic stuff, all the things you could think about, to all the little subtle nuances, the intricacies of OCD. We hear it all. If I was around OCD and got triggered all the time, I wouldn't be able to do this job. Okay? So you have to go towards the thing. I'm not saying you have to become obsessed with it and just speak about it all the time. I'm not saying that. Okay? But you can, as soon as you're doing well, just avoid anything to do with OCD. You can, as soon as you're coasting, just avoid anything to do with OCD. That's not going to work. Okay? We have to go towards it, let it latch, and see what's the fear, how do I break this down? Okay? But being aware of the subtleness of OCD is very important. Do not underestimate that. Don't underestimate how real it's going to feel. You know, when you're triggered, for example, don't underestimate within a millisecond, within a second, it is going to feel like everything that you've ever learned is all a waste of time, that you should be in a mental hospital, that you can't be here anymore, that you're totally depressed, that life just isn't worth living, it's not worthwhile, totally meaningless, within seconds. 1 minute, fine, next minute, seconds. Do not underestimate that. It's always looking to go under the radar and hit you off guard. Okay? That's not to scare you, that is just the reality of this disorder. Okay? But there is lots of hope. It's not to think, oh, I'm feeling hopeless now. Of course not, okay? But it's very important to be realistic as well. Because if I say, right, you got over one fear, well done, it's fine. No, because it's always looking to catch for the next one and the next one. Okay, hence why unconditional acceptance is so important. But anyway, if you're interested in one-to-one sessions, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com and we can help you see how OCD is switching up, how it's morphing, how subtle it's being, what it's doing, what its next step's going to be. You can see how it's latching to that. Okay, let's break that down. Then it's going to stop latching to that. Okay, very important to get that help. Because if you have that guidance, you have that someone walking through the steps with you and saying, yes, well, that's what it's going to do, or yes, that's what it will do, that's how we break this down, we have to go towards that. It's very important towards your recovery, rather than just sort of doing it by yourself and just hoping to get over it and hoping it to go overnight. It doesn't quite work like that. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like and we'll speak again. Bye-bye.